So what are some of the advantages of a DOWC program? And some of the ones I've got listed here, if you're familiar with dealer reinsurance programs, a lot of them are the same. Obviously, a high potential for additional profit, which would be your underwriting profit. If you don't have a back-end participation program, the dealership cannot participate in any of the underwriting profits or the investment income. Just like a reinsurance program, a DOWC is limited to its initial capital. These are corporations, so it does have a corporate veil. Whatever capital that we put into the program and whatever earnings we have that we haven't distributed, those are always at risk, just like a reinsurance program. But again, as Brian mentioned earlier, we do have a failure to perform contractual liability insurance policy, which basically says if the DOWC fails to pay claims and refunds, the primary insurer will step in and make sure that our customers are taken care of. A couple other things, Brian talked about kind of the control of the funds. There are different ways to handle it, but I think, the one thing you should note that if our required reserve and trust is less than 100% of the unearned premium, which again, in reinsurance, in my example, that $1,000 unearned premium on day one, that goes into a trust. In a traditional reinsurance program, a dealer does not have access to those funds. In a DOWC, again, same example there. If we have $1,000 of cash, we may have access to $300 of that we could, in essence, loan back to the dealership and, maybe support further acquisition. So we've got that ability. In any case, we're going to have the ability to potentially earn more investments because we're not going to have the restrictions typically, on those funds that aren't required to be in a trust. And generally, most DOWC programs have, I guess I would say, more aggressive or less aggressive investment restrictions in that trust. So you may have more potential to earn investment income by investing in more things like stocks and mutual funds and things like that. Obviously, just like reinsurance, there's a deferral of tax to the shareholder. As I mentioned, this is a corporation. It's not a partnership. The owners of the DOWC are only taxed when they take taxable distributions. A loan is not a taxable distribution. So it's only out of earnings out of the DOWC, and that gets preferential capital gains tax treatment on those types of distributions. Obviously, I mentioned before, we've got tax deferral in place. A couple other things. There is no exposure to IRS Notice 2016-66. So you're not filing a Form 8886 for a DOWC structure. Those are I guess I'd say the key advantages for a DOWC program.